Hey everybody, this is Andrea, president and co-founder of the Stigma Free Society. I just want to thank all of our Stigma Free viewers today for coming onto Facebook and watching our show. I'm really excited because we have a very unique and awesome person on today, and I just want to welcome Vi. So Vi Patry is your name. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
Really awesome. Where are you located?
I am in the desert. I am in Phoenix, Arizona.
I've been there.
I mean, it's still really hot outside, actually.
Yeah, I went there and watched the Diamondbacks game way back in high school. I went with a family and my boyfriend's family at the time, and we went to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm
Oh,
in Canada, so that's a real big deal.
that's so cool. I've always wanted to go to Canada. I really just want to go and like get pancakes. I mean, it's so generic, but I able to Europe like the real shit out there. So, I gotta go see the mountains and get pancakes.
Yeah, lots of syrup, right? Maple syrup. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to share your bio with everybody. I just want everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit. And Vi is a singer, songwriter, writer, and she speaks out about HSV 1 and 2, as well as borderline personality disorder. She went through an incredibly traumatic experience with both a breakup and HSV, which is what made her want to speak out. She began to realize that so many people felt what she felt: shame, being unlovable, untouchable, and losing confidence, all for a health condition that more than 80% of the world's population has. Vi believes no one thing defines you. That's awesome. I'm really excited because I feel like there are so many taboos of things that we don't talk about out there. And the Stigma Free Society is all about bringing those conversations out of the dark.
Yeah.
So I just feel like you're an amazing person for being able to speak out about HSV 1 and 2. That is something that nobody talks about.
It's so weird because it's just actually so incredibly common, but it's so in the dark. And so where the root of the issue really lies in the way we're educating young men, especially women, in what is it's like an hour of PE, just one day where you learn don't have sex. You're gonna get sick. It'll suck. Okay, guys, have a good day. Have a good life. Bye. It's like there's just so much more to it than that. Like no one really learns what herpes or HIV or any of the STDs are. No one really understands like I mean they understand in the sense that they don't want to have children so young, but they don't understand really how important it is to have protected sex or what to do, god forbid you do get something, like what
Mm-hmm.
the things to like look for, and it's and the thing about the education system is it's so fear based, and that
Right. Yeah.
because any kid, yeah, like it's like the same as, okay, my mom told me I can't go to a party. I'm like 13 years old, she's just telling me I can't go to a party. Well, that in of itself does nothing for me. Now I'm like curious, but maybe if she sat down and told me like maybe why I shouldn't get into drugs so early or this and that, like that understanding is so important, and we don't really get that when we're just introduced, especially from a very young age, into just fear-based education.
Right. Right. So people were like armed with the knowledge of about, HSV 1 and 2, herpes, what it's called. I believe it's like also like a cold sore that you would have on your lip, right? HSV
Yeah.
1.
Yes. So, with HSV 1 and 2, you can actually there's two strains of the virus, right?
Yeah.
The same family is actually chicken pox and E. coli. There's the Epstein-Barr virus. It's all the same family, but yeah, type 1 and type 2, they can both be present, both orally and genitally. So I think
Mhm.
one of the biggest misconceptions is that like, oh, if you have type 1, it's only orally, or if you have type 2, it's only down there.
Right.
But yeah, dude, like more than 80% of the world has cold sores orally.
So what the heck? Why is everyone so embarrassed to talk about it?
I don't know. I don't know, but everyone is like you wouldn't believe the messages. I have a support chat I started on Instagram, and you wouldn't believe some of the messages that I get from young men and women, and it's just so heartbreaking. But I went through it myself, and I understand, and it really comes down to the fear-based education. Like from a young age, we're taught don't have sex because you'll get this icky thing, and so then that stigma, it just kind of evolutionizes and
Rose. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Over time. And then that stays with us. And yeah, so I was curious. Tell me a bit about you. You're so like awesome. I just have this great energy from you. You seem like a lot of fun and like you have a lot of passions. Talk about like your singing and your speaking. Tell me a bit about you.
Oh my God. Okay. So I was singing like literally since I could remember. I wrote some very angsty music back when I was 5 years old, like very,
Wow.
but like I've just always loved music. It was just this way to express, like, I grew up and I was really bullied and I struggled with a lot of like toxic behaviors, as a child and as a teenager. And music was just that way to like convey what I really couldn't say, the things that I didn't even know, because the powerful thing about like singing, or at least the way that I write, is I'll just be like playing a piano or guitar, and I'll be like, and I'll record it and I go back and I listen to it and I'm like, oh, that's what I was feeling. And so music has just always been that to me. And I love producing as well. I've recently gotten into that. I'm not like the best, but I love like hearing all these different sounds. They make you feel so many different things. Acting, I also do acting stuff.
Nice.
A little shut down right now with COVID, but I feel like we all just have so many modes to our personality, because when you feel like you're different with each person in your life, and I just thought it's so cool to like really explore that, and that kind of just set a foundation for my love with that craft. I also love going to the gym first thing in the morning. It is something that has changed my life and my mental health. I recommend that everyone, even if they don't want to go to a gym, just get some like good physical.
I've been doing this, Vi.
Yes!
For the first time, I have now completed 106 workouts since July 13th. Okay.
Yes.
So I know what you mean with mental health and exercise. I never really got it, and now I really understand how it just changes my whole day.
Yeah.
And when you feel good, you just feel like you look good. Everything's just better. You just feel more confident. I noticed that I dropped like 37 pounds. And I was just like, but mainly for me, it's like probably for you too. It's like that good serotonin, that mental health, right?
It's that, like just first thing in the morning, you make your bed, then you get up, prove to yourself that you're so capable and that you're a badass. And yeah, of course, like the endorphins that are released, even just from walking outside a little bit first thing in the morning, it is just such an important way to start the day.
It's called showing up for yourself too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Being a true advocate for yourself.
I love it. Nice. Yeah, showing up for yourself. My friend Makala, she's like, I'd say nearly a bodybuilder lady. She's amazing. She's transformed her body and she always talks about that. Yeah, she's great.
Awesome.
Maybe that's the next step for us. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so I was wondering, you talked about in your bio that you shared incredibly traumatic experience with a breakup in HSV. Are you comfortable sharing like what happened? And maybe that was like the thing that it pushed you into your activism, right?
It did. And I actually am totally comfortable. I wrote a whole article about all of it. So, I mean,
awesome.
Years ago, I was in a relationship with someone that I'd met in an acting class. And so it was really weird for me. I don't date very often, but this person I had just fallen really hard for them. But the thing is, I'm a huge believer in that, like where you are mentally and it could be physically, emotionally, that's literally exactly what you attract. And so I really had no business to be dating. I like to take that accountability because I was recovering from an eating disorder and I had been struggling with like cutting. I didn't know that I had borderline personality disorder actually until the time that we broke up. But it was just kind of that he was very narcissistic. It was really noticeable by quite a lot of people. You just kind of, when you have those intense feelings for someone, it's kind of like you have this like blindfold on your heart and your soul, and you're not really willing to take in what people are telling you
Yeah.
and what you yourself are trying to tell yourself. So, you know, fast forward, I'm starting to understand that maybe this isn't correct for me. Okay, like it might hurt like son of a gun, but I got to get out of this thing. And then so that's when everything happens. So um, why people who have HSV, one or two, often they don't know that they have it, is because it mimics these common flu-like symptoms, right? So like that whole week, I was actually moving to a different house. I hadn't been taking care of myself properly already. So when it was Thursday and it was acting class, I passed out in front of everyone because I was like, my back had been hurting. You know, I couldn't pee. It hurt to pee because, you know, there were sores down there. But the thing is, I didn't know to look for those sores. That goes back into the education system. I really should have been taught, hey, if you feel this, check down there. I didn't know to do that. And so pass out, they're taking me to the emergency room, and the nurse, yeah, I was like, I really was just expecting, okay, this is a UTI. We're going to get you an antibiotic and you will be all better, girlfriend. And that was not what happened. She was like, I think you have herpes. And I was like, what? Like I didn't know what herpes was, except for everything that I'd heard on like TV shows and everything that I'd heard in high school and how people would get made fun of it. Like if there was a girl that was rumored to have slept around with everyone, then she must have. I'd heard those kinds of really toxic and incorrect things, and so that's what I felt. So the thing that kind of I've noticed with a lot of people that I talk to, it's never really just the herpes, right? So then when you get something that's stigmatized, it's really a reflection of like literally every other insecurity that you already have. It all just gets brought to the forefront. And I had to go on that really intense journey of really reconfiguring everything. It felt like the little healing I'd done from like my other behaviors, you know, I was working through, it felt like that was all shattered too, because I really just felt everything that I wrote in my bio, like I felt beautiful and touchable and lovable. Now I have to stay with my ex because who else could possibly want, who else is ever gonna, I'm never gonna get married, I'm never gonna have, I mean, all these things were just going through my head. So and so that was really hard, and it didn't help that he wasn't really like the nicest person. And but the thing that really sucked was, and I know, again, like I know a lot of people that stay in these toxic relationships because of actually literally HSV. I didn't want to like leave him. I felt compelled to like make him feel better, and I felt compelled to like prove to myself that I was lovable by like chasing him.
Right. And we know where that goes, right?
Oh yeah, it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
And so he had, I don't really understand to this day, I don't understand what happened, but like all my friends that I'd had in that class stopped talking to me. I was hearing rumors about how I gave it to him and how I was this and how I was that, and I was crazy because I wasn't emotionally right. It didn't take a genius to like at that time speak to me and be like, there's like something wrong with this girl, because I was going down a really, really dark path. I had been, you know, with the bullying and with the toxic relationship and dealing with, you know, this condition. I just didn't quite understand how to like love myself at all. And so and I hit my rock bottom. I had
Is
tried.
this where like the borderline personality disorder kind of came to a head?
Yeah, so what happened is I tried to take my life, and I landed in the psych ward. Mental evaluations led to a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder because things just started to click. Like with BPD, it's actually a fairly new condition, but the diagnostic manual, I think it's at least, I think currently it's 5 out of maybe 13 to 18 things. And I had checked the mark for cutting, you know, self destructive behavior, eating disorders. I had kind of like an issue with like, you know, my sexual appetite as well. And then there was, you know, just a lot of like disassociating a lot. I would have fits of anxiety and just forget.
Unstable relationships is another one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just exactly. You hit it on the head, like chasing unstable relationships constantly. So for me, that's when I was like, and it was kind of, it was just such a relief to have that, because then it was like, okay, like I understand with BPD, it's not bipolar. And I know it gets confused a lot with
I'm
BPD.
bipolar. I know the difference.
You know the difference. Yeah. So that's
But no, talk about it because some people don't.
it's so with, and you of course you know that bipolar is a chemical imbalance. Borderline is actually stemmed from CPTSD. It's stemmed from, which is, CPTSD is acute relational trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
there's things that I grew up with, things that my mom did, and then chasing all these unhealthy guys all throughout my teenage and my young adult life. And so it was just all like it all sent me the same message over and over again, that you're not enough. I wrote this song called Tissue because most of these guys, they made me feel like tissue. You take it, you need it to blow your nose, and then you like throw it off. So you keep getting these like repetitive messages, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
with bipolar disorder being a mood disorder is very different than borderline. And I know with borderline, there's been a lot of success with dialectical behavioral therapy. Is that
Yeah.
something you did, or did
Yes.
you?
I did do DBT.
Yeah.
It's very, the thing that's so beautiful about it is I
Mm.
am a big fan of like taking deep breaths, but sometimes like I know I've gone in fits of disassociating and just not knowing where I was, where that's just not enough. Like, or when I would have to fight like an eating disorder relapse, it's sometimes just sitting on your hands and breathing, it's just not quite enough to stop those urges. Like I've learned things like throwing some, like literally putting my face in like a bag of ice. I've learned so many other really helpful tools. I think regardless, I think everyone should take DBT. I
I
think
agree. Yes.
it's so beautiful and wonderful for
Yeah.
anyone. And that's again, like, why don't we have that in school? I don't know.
I know. I agree. And we at Stigma Free Society would go in person and talk about mental health and various stigmas. And it's so interesting, too, how that's also not taught in school. And so the teachers would rely on us as the experts to come in and teach this. And now people are realizing, especially with this pandemic, how important mental health education and support is. So ironic, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's now more important than ever, because it's in a, and I don't blame psychologists or psychotherapists for, it's
Mhm.
actually so difficult to get help right now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's so important to have these tools that so that God forbid you don't get a therapist appointment in time, you can have these tools at your disposal.
Yeah. And in Canada, it's really great. One of our partners is the Kids Help Phone. And with the Kids Help Phone, they can call 24/7. They have that support, a counselor on the other line. So they're great. And as well, we have our student mental health toolkit with the Stigma Free Society, which provides tons of support for parents, teachers, and school counselors. So everybody should check that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was curious as well. When coping with mental health and the overwhelming feelings and things that you went through, what was like your most effective coping strategy?
Honestly, for me, just singing, because
Okay.
it would obviously be very different for everyone, but music, it's hardwired into my brain. And actually singing reduces anxiety and stress. First of all, it does distract you, but also it actually, there are studies that have shown it reduces that level of stress. So one, I will sit on my hands, and that's really important, specifically just because of the destructive behaviors that I've had to fight off. And I'll just kind of like sing, and I'll just kind of like sing what I'm going through. And then another, this is not something I was taught in DBT. This is just something I've discovered recently, as I try to talk to an older version of myself. Like literally, I will just start talking out loud. I like to imagine that the older someone, me 10 years from now, just knows exponentially more and has had so much more life, obviously. So I like try to like talk and literally we'll just have a conversation like that with myself. And
So
also that
instead of going to your younger self, you go to your wiser self.
I do. I
That's
do.
cool. I like that.
I think it's just really fascinating. So I've been to an AA meeting, and so the reason why in AA, like, you know, it's very rooted in religion, but what was so interesting was they talk about how your current voice, like the voice that you're currently listening to, which I've always, you know, sometimes we have a really abusive relationship with ourselves. Like literally, if a partner talked to us the way we talk to ourselves, right?
I know.
Dude, what the heck? You're like crazy. Like we're breaking up, like, right? So we do that. So in AA, they teach you like, you know, that voice got you there. So talk to someone else that's higher than you, that's better than you. And I do believe in God, but also I just think it's so effective to just reach out to like, because if you don't, then what you can do is do that. Like you can reach out to like an older version of yourself that knows better, the person that you want to be. You can reach out and then think from that perspective.
Yeah. Oh, I love that very much. And a lot of people do, you know, seek a higher power, especially in AA and NA. Very familiar with those programs. And so a lot of people assert great success in such amazing peer support.
Yeah.
So
It's
good on you. That's awesome. And talk to me a little bit different topic, but I like your social media a lot. And I was wondering, like, you have quite an Instagram following, and how do you use that platform in your activism?
so at first it just started with, I remember the first day, because what really made me want to start speaking out was just that I needed to take my power back. Like I don't think placing yourself in victimhood is the best thing, because I do believe in emotionally processing, but what I'm saying is when you feel that power being taken away from you, which being diagnosed with something so stigmatized does, you need to take that back somehow. And it could literally be a number of things, but for me it was. And I remember my first post was just, I have this, I'm done, I am so done with people feeling the way that I do. And I remember, and I, you know, I put a bunch of hashtags on that post, and I
Yeah.
were like reaching out to me. And very soon, like reading these messages, I was like, oh my god, all these people are, you know, whatever their situation may be, they're going through the same thing that I did emotionally. They're literally in their head hearing the same words that I heard in that hospital room. And I was like, okay, so this needs to keep going, because no one deserves to feel what I felt for like any reason. And so I think with Instagram's like really interesting in that way. Like I think it's so easy to find what you're looking for. And so I mean, like on an analytical sense, just like using correct hashtags and, you know, kind of like looking for people. I've also reached out to other sexual health activists on there. I've mentioned them in my like YouTube video. And so then I got to a point where there's so many people reaching out to me, and I'm like, okay, like it's so hard for me to like message each and every one of you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm not even a doctor. Like, so I just started like little groups for people to like talk to each other, and it's really simple. It's just like it's just a chat, you know, like there's probably 10 girls in each one, mostly girls. I don't have one for guys yet. I don't know if they're just not comfortable reaching out to me yet or what.
I think that's a big piece of it, because I also, with the Stigma Free Society, have a online Zoom women's peer support group for any mental health issue, and I did create a co-ed, and it plummeted. It didn't even really take off all that much, because yes, I feel like men are a lot more shy, like, or scared to reach out for help.
Yes, and I can't really speak on every issue, but what it is with HSV is I have had a few guys reach out to me like singularly, and they always are like, well, it's probably easier for a girl because guys want to have sex more. So a guy's not as scared off by hearing I have herpes as a girl is. And that's like the feedback that I've gotten, but I'm
Mm.
so not, I can't go, I'm not a guy, so I can't be like that's invalid, but it just shouldn't be that way. And I don't
Yeah.
think, because, you know, girls, we actually do have quite the sexual appetite. And I think it is harder for guys because that stigma, it just, I think it's just harder for them to deal with because there's just not as much sympathy there.
And support. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I suggest keep reaching out to the men if you can, and I hope that they get the
Yeah, I
support
hope
they
some
need
of them are
too.
watching right now. Like, reach out to me,
Yeah.
guys. Get
Yeah.
that going.
So where is your group open or people can join or what's the
So right now, all I do is so when someone reaches out to me, like I, my requests, I kind of like, I'll kind of read whatever they've sent, and I'm like, would you like to speak to other people um,
yeah.
about this? Because
What's
I,
the platform, Vi?
what was that?
What's the platform?
It's just Instagram. It's
Instagram? Okay.
literally the chat section. You can add people in like a group chat. It's
Oh.
I would love to do more though. I would love to start an in-person group, although I don't know how that would work with COVID. And I
Zoom.
don't know if there's like a better platform to be doing that on, but I just like I remember when I first got it and I went
Mhm.
on like anonymous forums constantly because I just needed to talk to someone that's gone through it. But also the really interesting thing is it actually affects everyone very differently. Like physically, it affects everyone differently. So like I don't have HSV2, I have one which is milder. So I would rather have two people that have that second strain talk to each other and get that support from one another.
Mhm. Zoom is always a really good platform as well. That's what we use for our women's peer support group, and everyone can see each other's faces and they have like
That's
conversation.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to do the girls all like live like somewhere in the UK, some are like so I'm like, okay, if we just get like a time because everyone's in a different time zone, but that's
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. I know my husband's from the UK, and when he was over there, it was 8 hour time difference, so that can be rough. But
yeah.
there's a way to make it work, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
So, what are your plans for the future? What do you hope to accomplish further in your life?
Oh my God. Okay, I really don't think like too far ahead. I got really overwhelmed because I do want a lot. Like, I want to start my own podcast where I interview people. Obviously, I want to put more music out. I'd love to be a detective on some Netflix show or just like some like show in general. But like in the near future, right now I'm running for Miss Arizona International. I am working on a new song to put out. I have auditions constantly, so hopefully like after COVID dies down, booking something awesome. So yeah, that's really just what I'm hoping for the near future and always like, continuing to further, I guess, my relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Really important to me.
I think like cultivating acceptance and understanding and even awareness, which is our three words at Stigma Free, is it's an ongoing thing being stigma free for one, and also loving yourself.
Oh yeah, I just had a conversation. See, I think like it's so interesting because the words like self-love and healing, they've been so indoctrinated by like social media that they not to say that they lose their meaning, but I think people don't quite understand it's not like a state. It's actually a
It's a
practice,
journey.
the journey, it's a practice,
Yeah.
something like that. We have these experiences in life, like traumatic experiences that we then need to heal from and, relearn everything that we thought we knew. It's just an ongoing thing. But I think except you're probably familiar with the concept of radical acceptance, but it is just accepting that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yourself in full, and I think that is an ongoing journey because it's very hard to do. Certain circumstances will come up in life, right, where you think you're good with you, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you get diagnosed with something like yourself,
Yeah,
HSV, and then you question everything, and you're like, "Whoa, I have to love myself in this state now." And then maybe a few years down the line, that was a journey you just had to experience to be where you are eventually, right?
absolutely. And that's the thing with HSV. I've noticed with everyone I've talked to, it's never just HSV. Like their experience with HSV might bring up their codependency issues. It might bring up it brings up just so many different things. And that's what it did for me. I was like, I need to like change my literal like entire lifestyle.
Mm.
So
Interesting. Yeah, sometimes like with bipolar disorder, I was diagnosed when I was 25. That was quite a while ago now, and I ended up in the ICU for 3 days because I also attempted to take my life. But I built this beautiful charity out of my desire to help other people, and then a co-founder 6 years from the initial launch in 2010 helped create the Stigma Free Society, not just the Bipolar Society. So I know what you mean. It's like we get things dealt to us. Like I had my bipolar, for instance, and it was truly a curse in my mind for so long. And, you know, now I see that it was a gift, an opening, a door that gave me an opportunity to create something beautiful. And I think that that's kind of where maybe you're coming from too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, things in the moment, in that moment, they suck. Like when, of course, when you were initially diagnosed with BP, or when I was initially diagnosed with HSV, it was like the worst thing ever. But then, like with everything that you ever go through, I mean, could you say that you would have had the same passion for everything you do that you're speaking about? Exactly. So
Yeah.
that is honestly, I do think that, not to be cheesy, but I do think things happen for a reason. And that
Not cheesy. It's people say it for a reason.
cliche because it's true.
That is true. They definitely do. And then I think, you know, we're brought life lessons and it's what we do with them, right?
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Well, we're closing off here, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And lastly, can you give us some words of wisdom, some words of encouragement? There's a lot of people, as you said, 80% of people out there who have HSV 1 or 2 may have a mental illness. Can you give them some words of encouragement?
Yeah. So first of all, whatever you're feeling is valid. The first thing is to acknowledge what you're feeling. Don't run away from it. I mean, it's painful, but don't run away from it. If you feel unlovable and untouchable the way that I did, just know that I've spoken to so many people, and actually most of them, if not all, are in happy relationships or have had great successful relationships. But this really is a journey of you accepting yourself and understanding that everything that you've been taught about it actually isn't correct, and that it doesn't really impede upon your life quality. It really is just more dealing with like the way you feel and understanding that it is okay to feel what you feel, but that, you know, not one thing defines you, like I said, and not one thing from your past defines your future or your present.
You give me chills. Yeah, I do. It's like, I just love it. All right. So thank you so much. Stay on the stream. I'd like to thank you personally before you go.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Vi, for tuning in today. Vi, for being our wonderful guest. It was such a pleasure to interview you.
Oh, it was.
And yeah, so it was great. And everybody, have a beautiful week. We are on Wednesday, and enjoy the rest because life is great, isn't it?
It is.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.